おはようございます。桃月なしこです。今日から撮影が始まります。昨日が結構大雨だったのでちょっと今日心配だったんですけど、見てください、曇りです。今日はなんとか雨降らずに行けました。なので今日はビーチ撮影もあるので楽しんでいきたいと思います。バイバイ。
あの頃の私より少し素直になって、あの頃の私よりちゃんと大人、それが今の私。
RAVIJOUR。
こんにちは、北向みゆです。ヤングマガジン、2回目で、初表紙をやらせていただきます。ありがとうございます。今日は朝からこんな美味しそうなお料理と一緒に撮影を楽しんでます。今日これから1日撮影なので頑張りたいと思います。バイバイ。
川村那月です。今日はガバーッとデコルテの開いた服を着ておりますが、私も気になっていたデコルテと首筋のマッサージでかなり顔周りのこの首のあたりの印象が変わるというのを最近よく聞くので、皆さんもぜひ一緒に私と一緒にやってみていただけますか？強制みたいな感じになっちゃいましたけど、私も全然その美容の方にはあまり自分自身は厳しくなくて、ちょっともう女子力が最近低下してきているんですけど、メイクさんだったりとか友達のモデルの子とか教えてもらう情報があるので、それを皆さんにはシェアして、皆さんは女子力を高めていただき、私はよかったーみたいな感じでそうなればいいなと思ってます。この動画を撮る前に動画を見て勉強したりとか、雑誌で紹介されてるデコルテだったりのマッサージで効きそうなやつをちょっと集めてきましたので、ぜひ皆さんと一緒に実践していきたいと思います。
Gave you all you need and want as long as I'm alive. Even from the heavens up above, I'll shine out all too much is so just in case. I'll make it home tonight. I'll make it home, baby. For the last time, baby. Wanna cherish each moment like the last, 'cause baby, you're that I have just in case. Last time, oh, baby, you know I love you more than anything in this whole world. You're my anything, my everything, my wife, my queen. So if something happens to me, there's something you need to know. Like the last, 'cause baby, you're gotta have. So just in case I don't make it home, I don't make it home, I want you to know. Just in case, just in case. Let me make love to you for the last time, baby. You're my heart, you're my soul. Yeah, you make me whole. 'Cause baby, you're gotta have. So just in case, just in case, just in case, baby, I want. Just in case, I'm
年2016年にですね、映画、そして DVD、舞台、いろんなことを活動させていただきます。SNS ではですね、Twitter や Instagram もやっておりますので、いろんな写真、それから初の動画なんかもね、自分で撮った写真載せてたりしますので、皆さんもぜひぜひご覧ください。というわけで、写真にインタビューがいろいろありますけれども、楽しみにしてください。というわけで、こちらプレゼントもあるので、皆さんもどしどし応募お願いします。というわけで、片山もゆみでした。これからも応援よろしくお願いします。
I want you to know, just in case, let me make love to you for the last time. Baby. You're my heart, you're my soul, yeah, you make me whole. Cause baby, you're bad. So just in case, baby, I want. Just in case, I'm tonight. Let me make love to you for the last time.
初めてスペインに行って、もちろんずっと行ってみたかった国なんですけど、意外と知識もないものというか、本当に夢を抱いて、どういう場所なんだろう、どういう人がいるんだろうと思って、でいざ行ってみたらすごくこう不思議と肌なじみがいいというか、そこにいる人も街もなんか時の流れ方とかもすごい心地が良くて、なんかそういうのに身を任せながら写真を撮ってもらえたんじゃないかなと思ってて、なんである意味今まで見せたことがないぐらい素の部分というか、そういう部分も見せられた撮影だったのかなって思って、いろんな表情があるなと思いました。すごく現代的な部分と、昔からある建設物を大切にされてる部分と、なんかちょっとこう旧市街っぽい匂いは残ってるけど、発展してる部分はちゃんと発展してて、なんか夢の国、おとぎ話の国みたいにイメージが少しあった中で、やっぱり同じように時代が進んでるんだなみたいなことは感じました。私は2歳からもずっと日本で、特に福岡っていうある種あったかいんだけど少し閉鎖的な田舎町で育ってて、その中の常識の中で十何年生きていたので、もちろん東京に来た時もその自分が今まで常識だと思ってたことの固定概念はどんどんいい意味で崩れていったし、スペインで出会った人たちもなんだろう、本当に人が好きなのかな、なんかちゃんと心と心で話ができる人とか、今同じ空間を精一杯一緒に楽しもうねって思いだったりとか、なんかそういう思いに触れられて、また一つ自分の中でくすぶってた部分がほぐれたというか、日本に帰ってもこうやってスペインで覚えた思いとか教えてもらった気持ちとか高さとか、また日本で生かせたらいいなって思います。
I want you to know, just in case. just in case. You're my heart, you're my soul, yeah, you make me whole. Gotta have, just in case, baby, I want. Just in case, I'm gonna make love all night, all night. Last time.
What's My Line? Brought to you by Kellogg's, the folks who give you the widest choice of cereals in the whole wide world. All the great grains in the forms you like best. Yours from Kellogg's of Battle Creek. Now let's all play What's My Line?
And now let's meet our award-winning What's My Line panel. First, the popular columnist whose voice of Broadway appears in papers from coast to coast, Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
And now it's a great pleasure to welcome back one of our favorite guest panelists, Robert Q. Lewis.
Drop this on the way. To my left, a most delightful young lady and the best darn tie straightener on this show, Miss Arlene Francis.
And now a gentleman who is terribly happy because he has just published what promises to be the hit of this season, the Jerome Weidman book, The Enemy Camp, Mr. Bennett Cerf.
Thank you, Arlene. And now our panel moderator, who knows every word in the lexicon, probably because he walks up from Grand Central Station on Lexington Avenue.
Ooh, la!
Our boy, what's his name again?
John Charles Daly.
John Charles Daly.
Well, you can see what spring and summer have done for the panel. We hope so, anyway, because we have some very interesting occupations for them tonight, all brought here by some very nice people who hope with me that they can puzzle the panel completely and stump them. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before our panel a little bit later in the show. We'll meet our first challenger after this. Let's see what we can do with our first challenger. Will you come in and sign in, please?
David H.
Brown. That right? Just for fun, because you did put the H there. What does the H stand for?
It's Welsh. Howell.
Howell?
Howell.
Howell.
Welsh, yes.
And what does it mean? Does it ever translate into something?
No, it doesn't. Actually, it's just a Welsh name.
Oh, fine. Where are you from?
Redondo Beach, California.
Redondo Beach, California. Well, you have come a long way. Mr. Brown, the panel, Mr. Brown, will you join me over here now? Tell me, coming all the way from Redondo Beach, are you aware of the system by which we keep score on this here program?
Oh, yes, we see it in Redondo Beach, too, you know.
Fine. On that basis, let's let the folks at home and those who are with us in the audience tonight know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, Mr. Brown is salaried. And let's begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Mr. Brown, do you work for a profit-making organization?
I do.
You're wearing a blazer, which is very becoming to you. Do you have anything to do with the out-of-doors, Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Whatever you do, you perform out-of-doors, do you?
Generally, yes.
Is it a service of some kind?
No, I don't think so.
Well, now, if I may, a small conference.
Right, it is.
Actually, what I just had to explain, that in our broad terminologies, we would consider this a service, yes.
Mr. Brown, is there anything sportsmanlike about what you do? I do hope so.
Vaguely, I suppose. So vaguely, as a matter of fact, that in
That I'm going to get a
fear
no.
of misleading the panel, we'll give you a no. That's
Thanks
one
a lot.
down and 9 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Brown, Redondo Beach suggests water, the Pacific Ocean. Do your activities include any use or reference or connection with water?
Definitely, yes.
Oh, they do. Do you sometimes wear, in the carrying out of your duties, a uniform quite different than the one you're wearing tonight?
No. In other words, I would have to put the question in its full frame of reference. You would perform your service as you are dressed now and would
You
not
could
wear any
perform.
other costume.
I certainly wouldn't, as I am dressed now, but I wouldn't wear a uniform.
Well, now, we use a uniform. Let me have a small conference.
I'd like to have one with him myself.
She looks like it.
Yeah.
I think, Bennett, that we will have to agree on the specifics of exactly what Mr. Brown now tells me he wears, that you get a no. That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgannon.
Could I get the question back? Because now I'm thoroughly confused.
The question was basically, did Mr. Brown wear a uniform, something other than normal clothing? Mr. Brown does say he would not wear his blazer to do his work, but at the same time he is dressed normally for workaday work.
In other words, it wouldn't be any great clue if you came in wearing exactly what you wore to work last Thursday.
Not at all.
We wouldn't gain a thing by it. So I take it you don't go into the water, if you can help it.
On occasion. On occasion, I...
With his clothes on,
With a suit on?
No, but that is not the norm. Only on occasion does he go into the water. Actually, it's not required, right?
Right.
Are you on any sort of means of transportation when you're near the water?
No, I'm afraid not.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Just out of curiosity, Mr. Brown, does your work in any way entertain?
Yes.
Would the means toward that entertainment involve others than human beings? Would others than human beings be involved in what you do?
Oh, yes.
Would there be, animals? Some form of animal life?
Yes.
Well, I don't know much about Redondo Beach. Do you work then for a profit-making organization which might be compared to an aquarium or a zoo or something of that sort?
Yes, I do.
Well, I just have to have a while. Are you a keeper or a trainer of animals of some specific type?
Yes.
They are in the fish family, I trust.
No.
Mammal family.
4 down. There we go, Miss Francis. You
Well-
fell into that one.
Are they in the mammal family?
Yes.
But they're seagoing mammals,
Yes.
Would any of us ever wear a coat that might come from one of these animals?
I'm afraid not.
No octopus coat.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Sir.
And you have nothing to do with seals. Well, I
No.
mean,
Not in this particular...
not in this one. But are these animals that, would it be possibly in the walrus or whale class?
Yes.
Which one? Well, to start in at the top, have you anything to do with whales?
Yes.
You don't train whales. Do you? You train whales? How can you train whales?
You don't train whales. I got to flip all the cards, as a matter of fact, because he does train whales. And
How
that takes
can
a
you
bit of
train
flipping.
whales?
What do you train
Tell
to
us,
do?
actually, this is Mr. Brown's story to tell, but he has a whale, and a 15-footer.
A what whale?
This is a real whale, a pilot whale. In fact, I'm happy to say it's the only whale in the world in captivity at the present time. We keep it at Marineland of the Pacific in California. It's a very fabulous animal. We've trained it to jump over hurdles, leap completely out of the water, to sing, to punch a punching bag, to wear a hat, and wave goodbye, and several other interesting little tricks. It'll even suffer a man to ride on its back.
It's
And
a sissy whale.
It's a singing whale.
It's the prince of whales.
It's a sissy whale, it's a lady whale, and we call her Bubbles.
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 Known as Elvis Bubbles the Whale.
Bubble
She does
Shinazi
a
whale.
soft shoe. I want to see that.
And I want you next winter to watch Arlene coming across the stage in her whale coat.
And carrying the whale.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. We had a very good
Mr.
time.
Brown. We come to see the whale.
Very good, panel. You're on your mettle tonight. I thought we'd give you a real rough time with that one. Let's see what you can do with the second challenge. Would you come in and sign in, please? Jean? Jean Farrell, is that right? And, is it Miss or Mrs. Farrell?
The latter.
Mrs. Farrell, and
That's
where are
right.
you from?
From Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Well, it's nice to have you here with us. Mrs. Farrell, the panel. Panel, Mrs. Farrell, would you join me over here, please? You know how we keep score?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's fine. This lets the folks here in the audience and people at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, Mrs. Farrell is self-employed, and let's begin the general questioning with Robert Q. Lewis.
Miss or Mrs. Farrell?
Mrs. Farrell.
More's the pity. Mrs. Farrell, do you render a service?
Yes, I do.
Is this a service for both men and women?
Yes, it is.
Well, the logical question is, when could I avail myself of your services?
It requires a very special occasion.
A very special occasion.
But you could.
I don't know if I'll let you know later, John. Mrs. Farrell, does what you do require more than a high school education?
No, it doesn't.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
Oh, I thought I would get a yes, it does not. Oh, no, of course not. Well, never mind. I haven't been here for so long. Please,
You're not here now, old boy.
I know.
Miss Francis?
Mrs. Farrell, you too look healthy and out of doorsy. Is what you do an occupation that keeps you out of doors?
No, it isn't.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mrs. Farrell, do you have the privilege of instructing or advising people in any way?
Yes, to a certain extent.
What's that face, John?
The question was so broad that it would be difficult to give you an answer that was exact. But I want to give you an exact answer because
Yes.
I don't want to mislead you.
Well,
Would
then I'll
you like
narrow
to
it
put
down
the
a bit.
question again?
Yes. Mrs. Farrell, do you teach or instruct in any way?
No, I don't.
That's 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Gilgal.
Satisfied, John?
When people avail themselves of your services, Mrs. Farrell, do you speak to them? Yes, I do. Do they come to you both sexes at a time? Yes, they do. Is there anything romantic about their coming? Not at all. What? No, not at all.
4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Do you then not work for a government agency?
No, she's self-employed.
Oh, I beg your pardon. See, I'm not here. Is there, the people come to you, both men and women come to you, are these people attached to each other?
What?
I mean, by that,
Like Siamese?
hardly physically, Mrs. Farrell, but are they married people who come to you?
You mean, do they have to be married? Is this a requirement? Of
Can they be? Thank you, Dorothy.
Yes,
can
they
be?
can
Well,
be.
now, don't be misled. People can come to see Mrs. Farrell. They can come singly. They can come together. They can be married. They can be single. They can be going with one another. They could hate each other's temperaments. You never can tell.
I think you got a yes.
I think so. In your work, Mrs. Farrell, you work indoors as opposed to outdoors. There is no special garb required for what you do. Is that correct?
That's right. There is no special garb, no.
To do what you do, would your training necessarily involve more than 6 months of study?
It would not.
It would
That
not.
makes it 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
You work indoors. Do you work in a large enclosure? No?
No. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Sir.
Does the service that you give, Mrs. Farrell, involve either food, drink, or clothing?
No, it doesn't.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss Kilgallen. I'm going to give you 1 minute more.
May we assume, Mrs. Farrell, that there is no product that's important to your work?
Yes,
You are
yes,
you may primarily a service person. You talk to these people who come to you. Do you also do something else for them?
Yes.
Do you write anything down?
Yes, I write.
And you say that it's a special occasion when they come.
Well, she said it would be a special occasion when Mr. Lewis came. This all by itself would make it as well. There you are.
Special occasion when he comes.
They will come to see Mrs. Farrell because they have a special mission which they wish to be executed.
And do you accomplish this particular thing while they are there rather than afterwards?
Not necessarily.
No. 8 down and 2 to go. I'm going to give you 25 seconds more.
This doesn't only happen in Ohio, Mrs. Farrell. There are people like you all over the country, are there?
Yes. Yes.
Can we have a conference a minute?
10 seconds.
What do you
With
think?
babies.
What about something like a private detective or summons service?
Not
No.
Mrs. Farrell. No.
Private
Okay.
detective over
I've heard
which one,
enough.
babies?
I'm turning all the cards over because you might as well know now that Mrs. Farrell is a bill collector. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment, but first, here is a word from our alternate sponsor. Come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity, for which my friends on the panel are blindfolded. Blindfolds all in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? Panel, you know, in the case of our mystery celebrity, you go to a different form of questioning. You will ask one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise. And let's begin with Bennett Cerf.
Those are very intriguing whistles. Would you say that you are even more curvaceous than the two ladies on this panel? Huh?
Yes. I'm sorry that it's necessary for the chair to amend that answer. You get a no. 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Are you an entertainer who does something other than just acting?
Yes. Mr. Lewis?
Are you also a singer?
Yes.
He's a dubious singer.
Mr. Doobie.
Mr. Dubious. Are you a television personality?
Yes. Mr. Cerf?
Do you sometimes sing songs about crying and things like that?
Who doesn't?
Was one of your big hit songs, did it have something to do with crying?
No. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Okay, are you Julius LaRosa?
No. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Lewis.
Is it Tony Bennett?
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Fred.
Are you going to be on the air as a summer replacement? How do I know? I just made it up.
Yes. Mr. Cerf?
Oh, well.
Are you a member of a very famous theatrical family?
Yes.
I pass.
Well, I think, are you one of the Williams? Are you Andy Williams?
Did you... Don't take your blindfold off, Robert.
All right.
That's 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you not quite as bold as another member of your family?
Oh.
Yes. No.
What would you say your Crosby rating was? With Bob Crosby? Is it?
Bob Crosby?
I still think we should have made him say which one.
I did say Bob. I did say
Under
Bob.
the
Which one?
audience's, yeah,
Bob.
He said Robert, I believe.
Oh,
He
I
gave you
didn't
that
hear Robert.
distinguished
I said
bit, you know.
Honestly.
Yeah.
There are so many Crosbys in entertainment now.
They keep coming and more all the time.
It seems to me that reading a gentleman named Bill Slocum, you just got back from Brussels, or Europe?
No, I was in England.
In England. You didn't go to Brussels?
No, I didn't.
I think it was a very amusing column.
Oh, he's a wonderful guy, John.
Well, we have both known him a great time, but I think it must be pleasant for you to read a column like that, because the substance of it was that Mr. Bob Crosby is a very nice person, and to that we say amen. He is a very nice
Thank you,
person.
John. I think the nicest thing about it was that I thought Bill Slocum wrote about, well, other things than people in show business, and when I met him, when I talked to him, it was entirely unsolicitous. I didn't know that he would do a column on me.
Well, he sure did, man.
He did a wonderful column.
And now
the
that
only
we-
thing is, he said one thing in there. He said, this might be the Crosby that people think Bing is, and luckily Bing is fishing off of Alaska, else I'd blow my allowance.
Well, when he gets back, I was with Bing at his golf thing.
I was there with you, too.
Yeah, and you
We
were out
fought
there.
it through
We
together.
fought it through together and had a wonderful time. Give both Miss Kathy and Bing my regards.
Oh, Kathy's wonderful.
Yeah. To clean up one or two small items here, because I think it's something we should note. Your question was asked if Bob was a summer replacement. He is a most distinguished one. He's a summer replacement for a gentleman named Dr. Perry Como on another network whose initials are NBC on Saturday night.
I always follow the best singers.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Thank
we had
you,
a wonderful time having you with us. Thanks a lot for coming. And we'll have another contestant after this word from our sponsor. Well, we have time for one more contestant. If you move quickly, will you come in and sign in, please? Lee Keener. Is that right, sir? Hello. Mr. Keener, where are you from?
Yuma, Arizona.
Yuma, Arizona. Mr. Keener, the panel. Mr. Keener, will you join me here? You know how we keep score, sir?
I sure do. I've
Fine.
been watching your program a long while.
Thank you. Now let's let everybody except the panel everywhere know what your line is. Exactly. All right, panel, we will tell you that Mr. Keener is salaried, and let's begin the general questioning with Miss Dorothy Kilgallen.
Mr. Keener, you look rather indoorsy. Do you do most of your work indoors?
Indoors?
Uh-huh.
Well, sometimes I can do it indoors or outdoors.
Oh, that's nice. Could anybody on this panel take advantage of your job?
Take advantages of
Oh, I don't
what
mean
you
of
do.
you, but I mean
think
of
so.
what you do.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
it kind of a fun thing rather than deadly serious?
Yes, it's fun.
Well, is it fun for other people as well as you?
I hope so.
Do you deal with both sexes?
Yes.
Do they come to you?
Yes.
And do you do something for them while they're there?
Yes.
Do they come 2 by 2?
Do they come 2 by 2? Specifically, no. That's one down and 9 to
Did
go.
you hear what Arlene said? She said, I have a Noah's Ark complex.
Mr. Keener, you do work with human beings. You do work with human beings.
Yes, not whales.
Not whales, huh? Is there any product connected with your work?
Connected with?
Well, is there a product involved in your work? Were I to go
No,
to Mr. Keener?
not by the terms of our program. 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Francis.
Do you ever touch the people that come in contact with you?
Well, the nice ones.
Given no answer to that with no explanation. That's 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Sir.
Mr. Keener, do you ever have anything to do with the tourists or visitors who come to Arizona?
Yes.
Would you say that your work was definitely connected with tourists of some kind?
No, not definitely. 4 down and 6 to go. We've got time for about 2 questions.
Do they
Miss
have
Kilgallen?
gambling in Yuma?
Gambling in Yuma?
Well, don't look so shocked, John.
We've never heard of it in Yuma.
Oh.
$5,000.
Do you by any chance work for any branch of the government in Yuma?
Any branch of the government?
No.
No, okay.
6 down and 4 to go. I'm afraid we have to throw the towel in because we've run out of time, but you weren't close, I'm sorry to tell you. Mr. Kina is a one-man band. No, it's Mr. Music. Thank you very much, Mr. Music.
John.
And on that happy note, until next week, this is John Daly saying good night, Dorothy Kilgallen.
Good night, John. Good night, Bob. Come again. You are a great help.
Thank you, Dorothy. Good night. I want to put that man on my show tomorrow night. Is that all right? Good night, Arlene.
Good night, and I'll straighten your tie anytime. Good night, Bennett.
Good night, John.
Good night, Bennett. And it's nice to have had you back with us, Robert Q.
Thanks.
Next week, by the way, Jack Lemmon will be here, warming that particular place on the panel. It'd be nice to have him back, too. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us on What's My Line?
If you'd like to attend our broadcast and see the panel and our guests in person, write for tickets to What's My Line, CBS Television, 485 Madison Avenue, New York, 22, New York. Transportation for contestants on What's My Line is arranged by American Airlines. What's My Line is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production in association with the CBS Television Network. What is your name, please?
My name is Wilfred Deno.
What is your name, please?
My name is Wilfred Deno.
What is your name, please?
My name is Wilfred Deno.
Two of these people are imposters. Only one of them is the real Wilfred Deno and is the only one sworn to tell the truth.
Geritol, America's #1 tonic. Geritol, the fast-acting, high-potency tonic that helps you feel stronger fast, presents To Tell the Truth.
With your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you, and good evening. This, as you know by now, is a game of deliberate misrepresentation, wherein 4 presumably smart people try to find out which one of 3 challengers is sworn to tell the truth. And now let's meet our cross-examiners. What is your name, please?
My name is Polly Bergen.
My name is John Cameron Swayze.
My name is Hildy Parks.
And my name is Hy Gardner.
I can attest that these people are telling nothing but the truth. Now, these 3 people all claim to be Wilfred Deno. Only one is the real Wilfred Deno. The other 2 have assumed that identity, and of course, they don't have to stick to the truth. Now, panel, in front of you is a copy of an affidavit. Will you please listen and follow while I read it? My name is Wilfred Deno. I am married and the father of 1 son. During World War II, I served in the Navy as Chief Warrant Officer in the Pacific. Although my hobby is boating, my job demands a major part of my time, since I am the warden of Sing Sing Prison. I swear that the above statement is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Signed, Wilfred Deno. These 3 people all claim, panel, to be Wilfred Deno, warden of Sing Sing Prison. Now remember, if you will, that only the real Wilfred Deno is required to answer your questions truthfully. Each of you will question until you hear this signal. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll be asked to register your vote for the one person who, in your opinion, is the real Wilfred Deno. And let's start this evening with Hy Gardner. Hy?
All right, number 1. It seems silly calling a warden by a number. What does the name Clinton Duffy mean to you, sir?
I believe he's a warden in some other state.
Number 2, what does the name Clinton Duffy mean to you?
Well, I've just heard it in literature.
I see. How about you, number 3?
Well, I understand he's a warden. I don't know him. I've heard of him.
I see. Would you know whether Duffy ever wrote a book that became a motion picture?
No, I would not.
Would you, number 2?
No.
You, number 3?
I read a book.
You read a book? That's nice to know that a warden reads books. Number 2, I would like to know what the population of Sing Sing is, sir.
Approximately 1,800.
Approximately 1,800.
Polly Bergen. Polly?
Number one, I understand you were in the Navy during World War II.
That's correct.
Could you tell me, what is the highest non-commissioned officer in the Navy?
A chief petty officer.
Number two, could you tell me the highest non-commissioned officer in the Navy?
Chief petty officer.
Number three, could you tell me?
Yes, chief petty officer.
Number one, what exactly are the requirements to become a warden at Sing Sing? Any specific requirements?
Well, I imagine you must have acquired some experience at some time or other.
Number two, do you know of any specific requirements for being a warden?
Yes, you must come up from the ranks, starting from a guard on the way up.
John Cameron Swayze.
Number one of your predecessors was particularly well known. Does the name occur to you? Warden?
Warden Laws.
That's correct. He had a very definite belief regarding capital punishment. What was it?
Well, I really couldn't
Number two.
say.
Well, I couldn't say.
Number three.
He was opposed to it.
Now, he also had a very definite belief about the convicts that came to Sing Sing, how long they should serve, the length of terms, the division between this man and the other man. Can you tell me what that was?
Well, of course, he did not fix the length of term. It was fixed by the court.
I appreciate that, but he had a belief about the division of
Yes,
convicts.
I think he felt that when he felt that the prisoner had reformed, it was time to let him go to get back to society.
Would I be correct if I said that he said half the men in prison should be free and half should stay in prison for life?
You might well be, I don't know.
Hildy Parks.
Number three, I see that your hobby is boating, powercraft or sailcraft?
Power, small power.
I see. There is a sailboat called an L-16. Do you know what the L stands for?
No, I do not.
Number two, you were in the Navy during the war. Who was Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet when you served there?
Nimitz.
Admiral Nimitz. Number one, would you tell me what a Marconi rig is?
No, I wouldn't know.
Are you a power or sailcraft man?
Power.
Oh, well, then you have every right not to know what a Marconi rig is. How do the front gates get open?
It's up to me?
Uh-huh.
Well, I imagine with a key.
Number two, if you were on your way out, who'd let you out? How do the gates get open?
It'd be open with a key.
Number three?
Well, it's difficult to answer that specifically. You'd have to be, whether you're going out as a discharged prisoner or just going out as...
We have no time to ramify. I'm terribly sorry, Hildy. We haven't. We have time now for just one final question from each of you. So, Hi, what's your final one?
Number two, I'd like to ask, is Lamarco, the convicted kidnapper of the Weinberger baby, in solitary because of fear of other convicts?
We have no solitary up in Sing Sing.
Polly, what's your last one?
I would like to get the answer from number three. Number three, how do they let you out of Sing Sing if you are a discharged prisoner?
You sign certain papers, you get the money you've earned, they give you a suit, an overcoat in the winter, and you're given a certain amount of money and you're discharged and set free.
Thank you.
John?
Number one, where is Sing Sing located?
About 30 miles from the...
No, the name. The name of the town.
Oh, Ossining.
Hildy?
Number two, how do prisoners arrive at Sing Sing? By what mode of conveyance?
Well, it can be various. They're brought up by the local sheriff, either by train or car or any place at all, under the custody of the local sheriff.
Thank you.
All right. Now it's time to vote. Now, without consultation, panel, mark your ballots and select either number one, number two, or number three. May I have the ballots, please? Now, the team of challengers will get, of course, $250 for every incorrect vote. That means, of course, if they fool the entire panel, they can divide as much as $1,000. This is Polly Bergen's ballot. She votes for number three. John Cameron Swayze selected number three. Hildy Parks picked number three. Hy Gardner voted for number three. All right, the ballots have been cast, and I'm sure that all of you good friends of ours at home have made up your minds. So now, will the real Wilfred Deno please stand?
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's find out about the other two now. Number two, who are you really?
My name is Daniel Magan. I'm chairman of the board of Diebold Incorporated of Canton, Ohio. We try to keep prisoners out of Sing Sing. For 98 years, we've been making bank vaults and safes.
Thank you, sir. And how about you, number three? You won all the votes.
My name is W.B. Northrop, former justice of the Court of Special Sessions of the City of New York.
Well, let's see now just exactly what we had. There were 4 incorrect votes worth $250 each, which means a total of $1,000 from Geritol for our team of challengers to divide. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Hope you had a good time. Good night and good luck. Now let's have our next team of challengers. And panel, will you please listen while I read this affidavit? My name is Muriel Agnelli. I was born in a house just 1 block away from Arthur Godfrey's birthplace. In college, I majored in psychology. My husband and I recently started a business raising Christmas trees. Although my real name is Agnelli, I write a daily column on human relations, which appears in some 150 newspapers under the name Dorothy Dix. I swear that the above statement is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Signed, Muriel Agnelli. Now, we'll get along with our next game in just... All right, it's time again now to play our game, panel. These 3 people all claim to be Muriel Agnelli, who writes a column under the name Dorothy Dix. Now, remember again, if you will, that only the real Muriel Agnelli is required to answer your questions truthfully. Again, each of you will question until you hear the signal for a total of 4 minutes, and then you'll be asked to register your vote. And this time, let's start with Hildy Parks. Hildy?
Number 2, where were you born? Boston. Boston, Massachusetts. What college did you attend?
New York University.
And what kind of psychology did you major in?
Just general psychology.
Number 1, what kind of psychology did you major in?
Child psychology.
Could you tell me the name of a gentleman who's very well known in that field, who's working at Yale University? I was thinking specifically of a gentleman who's working at Yale University and publishes a bunch of books these days.
No, I don't know.
Number 3, can you give me the name of that child psychologist?
No, I studied general psychology.
Number 3, what is a Rorschach test?
That's an Inkblot test.
It is a what?
The Inkblot test.
And what was the name of the man who invented the word association test?
I don't remember.
Number 1?
I don't know.
Hi, Gardner.
How many Dorothy Dixes have there been? Number 1,
2.
yes. 2. Where is the original Dorothy Dix right now?
She's dead.
She is dead. Yes. What was the original title of Dorothy Dix's column number 2?
Column on human relations.
That was the original title of Dorothy Dix's column. Number 3, what was the original title of Dorothy Dix's column?
Dear Dorothy Dix.
Number 1, what is your answer to that?
Dear Dorothy Dix.
Dear Dorothy Dix, now. What is the title of a song, number 1, once dedicated to Dorothy Dix?
I don't know.
Number 2, how far in advance do you get your columns to the syndicate?
Pardon me, I didn't get that question.
How far in advance do you get your columns to the syndicate?
Oh, about 6 weeks.
About 6 weeks in advance.
Polly?
Number 1, where is Godfrey's birthplace?
Baltimore.
Baltimore. And where did you say you were born?
Baltimore.
You were born in Baltimore. Number 3, where were you born?
New York City.
In New York City. And you say you were born near where Godfrey lives. Where do you believe Godfrey was born?
About 105th Street and Amsterdam Avenue.
105th Street in Amsterdam. Number 2, where was Arthur Godfrey born?
In Boston.
In Boston. Makes sense. Number 2, how many years have you been writing the Dorothy Dix column?
5 years.
5 years. Number 3, how many years have you been writing the Dorothy Dix column?
7.
Number 1, how many years? 5. Could you tell me how you were specifically chosen to replace Miss Dix?
I applied for the job.
You applied. Number 2?
I was an assistant to Dorothy Dix.
You were assistant. Number...
Sorry. John Cameron Swayze.
Number 3, you are the second Dorothy Dix, is that correct?
Yes.
When did Dorothy Dix die?
1951, I believe.
But you've been doing it for 7 years?
Yes.
Number 2, what was Dorothy Dix's real name?
Elizabeth Meriwether Gilmer.
Was she a single or a married woman?
She was a married woman.
What part of the country was she from?
She came from Kentucky.
Did she speak with or without a Southern accent?
She had a slight Southern accent.
What syndicate do you work for?
Bell Syndicate.
Where do you raise Christmas trees?
In New Jersey.
What is the trickiest thing about raising Christmas trees for sale?
Well, there's really no trick to raising Christmas trees because all you have to do is just let them grow and just prune them a bit for shape, that's all.
Number one, how long have you been writing this column?
5 years.
When did Dorothy Dix die?
1951.
Okay, that's it, I'm afraid. Panel, time now for one final question from each of you, so make it a good one. Hi?
Well, I'd like to ask this question. Who do you get most of your inquiries from for advice? Are they teenagers or older women?
Mostly teenagers.
Mostly teenagers. Number three?
No, I'm sorry, only one question. I'm sorry to call you on that high. Polly?
I'd like to ask them which one is the real one.
Have one final question.
Number two, how many years did you say you had been writing?
5 years.
5 years.
John?
Number three, what should I pay for a good 8-foot Christmas tree?
Oh, an 8-foot Christmas tree, if it's a real good shape, would cost about $10. That's what I paid for mine this Christmas.
I didn't get stuck then.
Gildy, what's your last one?
Number three, do you know what newspaper in Washington, D.C. carries your column?
And none.
All right, panel, again now, it's time to vote. No consultation. Please mark your ballots and select either number one, number two, or number three. And may I have the ballots, please? The first, as usual, is Polly Bergen's ballot, and she votes for number two. John Cameron Swayze selected number two. Hy Gardner voted for number three. Hildy Parks voted for number two. All right, the die is cast once again, and I hope you folks at home have made up your minds. We'll find out whether you were right. Will the real Muriel Agnelli please stand up? Number one, let's find out who you really are, please.
I'm Barbara Bayer, and I work in a travel agency in the Biltmore Hotel.
How about you, number two?
I am Freddie Nakamy. I'm a housewife and a model.
Oh, don't leave before we tell how everything worked out here. There were exactly 3 incorrect votes here, worth $250 each, so that means a total of $750, which you will divide from Geritol. Thank you, ladies, very much for being with us tonight. Good night and good luck. Now let's have our third team of challengers. Now, would you please listen again, panel, while I read this affidavit. My name is Edward J. Crosby. I am married and the father of 4 children, including a set of twins. Part of my income depends on the weather, since I work for a company which specializes in making rain by artificial means. A number of years ago, I wrote a biography of my brother. The title of the book was Bing Crosby. I swear the above statement is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Signed, Edward J. Crosby. All right, these 3 people all claim to be Edward J. Crosby, who wrote a book about his brother called Bing Crosby. Now, you'll each question till you hear the signal as usual. This time we'll start with John Cameron Swayze. John?
Number 2, what's Bing Crosby's real name?
Harry Lillis Crosby.
What's the name of the golf tournament he sponsors on the Pacific Coast?
I think the Bing Crosby tournament.
Number 1, what's the name of that tournament?
It's at Pebble Beach.
Did he play this year?
No.
Number 2, did he play this year?
I don't think so.
Number 2, was he ever with Paul Whiteman?
Oh, yes.
Did he do a single?
No, he was part of a trio.
Who are the other members?
Harry Barris and Al Rinker.
What was Bing's theme song as he rose to fame? Number 1.
The Blue of the Night.
What about his golf score? What kind of a game did you play?
He shoots about par.
Is he better than Bob Hope?
I would say so, yes.
Hildy Parks.
Number 3, where do you live?
Colorado Springs, Colorado.
And how do you make artificial rain? Is it war paint and dancing around a fire, or what?
No, the principle on which you manufacture rainfall is the introduction of a chemical concoction called silver iodide into a cloud formation, and this causes the moisture in the atmosphere to congeal either into snowflakes or raindrops.
Now all we got to do is figure out how to stop it, huh? Number one, where do you live?
Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Cambridge, Massachusetts? Did you ever spend any time in California at all?
No.
Where does your brother live?
Which brother?
Mr. Crosby, Bing.
Bing? Well, he lives in about 4 different places. He has a house in Carmel, a ranch up at Hayden Springs in Idaho, one in Elko, Nevada, and a home in West Los Angeles.
Thank you.
Hi, Gardner.
Number 3, is that your own hair? Is that your own hair? Yes, sir. I have a family failing. It's fast disappearing, but of course I don't know if any of the other Crosbys have any. Do you help bring rain to the east? For instance, several years ago when we had a drought, was your firm the one that did the job? No, I'm with a firm called the Weather Modification Company in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and we've only recently had some success out there. We got a little snowfall after the president came in on his inspection. Did Gene Fowler or Pete Martin write a biography on Bing as well as you? Pete Martin wrote one that was very successful called Call Me Lucky. How many...
Sorry, hi. Polly Bergen.
Number 2, could you tell me where Bing Crosby's twins are stationed?
No, I don't.
Number 3, could you tell me?
I'm not sure about that. You know, they go into basic training and they move, and this has recently taken place in their case.
I see. Do you know whether they're in the United States?
I'm not at all sure of that.
Number 1, do you know where the twins are stationed?
No.
Number 3, could you tell me, are you Mr. Crosby's business manager? Do you work for Bing in any way?
Bing's business manager is our second oldest brother, Everett, and he lives up in Poughkeepsie, New York now, but he keeps his hand in the Crosby Enterprises, Inc.
Well, time now for one final question, and the first one of those will come from John.
Number 2, what one of your nephews, Bing's sons, appears most likely to follow in his footsteps in show business?
I think Gary, probably.
Hildy?
Number 3, I know that Mr. Crosby has investments in a number of concerns. What food concern did he go into quite some time ago that was rather successful?
Well, he has a chunk of a very nice orange juice called Minute Maid.
I thanked him.
Hi, what's your final?
Number 1, what was the original name of the trio in which Bing sang?
The Rhythm Boys.
And a final one from Polly.
Number 3, what record company does Mr. Crosby record for?
I think he's the prop on which Decca stands.
Thank you.
All right, time to vote. So, panel, please mark your ballots. For either number 1, number 2, or number 3. May I have the ballots, please? Polly Bergen votes this time for number 3. John Cameron Swayze selected number 2. Hildy Parks picked number 3. Hy Gardner voted for number 3. And I hope you friends at home have put your thinking caps on and done either guessing or voting, as the case may be. The facts are in. The ballots are cast. Let's find out. Will the real Edward J. Crosby please stand? Now, number 1, let's find out about you. Who are you really, sir, and what do you do?
I am Captain R.B. Moore, the commanding officer of the USS Saratoga.
Unless I miss my guess, Captain, the USS Saratoga is the largest warship in the world, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Oh, that's quite a responsibility. Number 3, who are you really?
Colonel Barney Oldfield, United States Air Force of the Continental Air Defense Command in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and the only thing I have in common with Edward J. Crosby is that I also wrote a book.
You are an author also. What is the name of your book, sir?
It's one called Never a Shot in Anger.
Never a Shot in Anger.
Available in great quantities right now.
How long has it been out on the market?
About 2.5 months, sir.
Huh? Well, I'd like to ask you one question. Apparently the panel doesn't have any, but I'm real curious. Are you, maybe you've been asked this countless times, are you any relation to the original Barney Oldfield?
I was named for him. When I was 4 years old, I met him, and he told me that certainly in the future people would always ask me if I was a relative, and he said there were so few Oldfields it was safe to say that we were cousins.
Oh. Well, I hope you've had... Yes, you have a question?
I'd just like to ask the captain one question. Is it true that Bing Crosby owns a piece of the Saratoga?
What did you try to answer that? Let's see what happened here now. There were 3 incorrect votes worth $250 each, which means, gentlemen, a total of $750 from Geritol. Thank you very much and good luck. That's all we have time for tonight, so good night, panel.
Good night.
Good night. And until next week, this is Bud Collier reminding you to tell the truth. Good night.
Travel arrangements for To Tell the Truth are made through American Airlines. American Airlines flies our contestants in luxurious comfort aboard DC-7 flagships. To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Codman production in association with the CBS Television Network.
Minasan, こんにちは。池田エライザです。あの子の夢を聞いたんです。60秒チャレンジ。頑張ります。それではスタート。印象はすごく早く喋られる方だなと思いました。独特でした。嬉しかったです。台本は早いと思います。フェッチは特にないです。家に帰ってすることは着替えて風呂入って寝る。ルーティーンは直前まで寝てます。性格ですか？内弁慶で引きこもり？二言だ。忘れたい時には寝る。生まれ変わったら人間。弱点はすぐお腹がすく。妄想したなんだっけ、してない終わっちゃった。あっという間ですね。ありがとうございました。失礼します。
あの頃の私より少し素直になって、あの頃の私よりちゃんと大人、それが今の私。
RAVIJOUR
マキアージュ。誘うより誘われたいから、フルボリュームな唇で
ささやくの。美容液ジェルのツヤで唇ぷっくり。ほら、マキアージュのジェルルージュ。春です。唇だって初体験したいです。美容オイル生まれのルージュに春色が溶け込んだとろけるレディーな唇。マキアージュの新色ルージュ。この唇女っぽくてごめんなさい。とろける快感。美容オイル生まれの色とツヤ。レディーに仕上がれ。新しいマキアージュのルージュ。マキアージュ。いつもの日だなと思ったらいつもじゃない日にしちゃえばいい。レディーレッド。私の中のレディーが騒ぎ出す。こんな赤初めて。変わるよ。